First of all, I'd like to just thank my team. It's pretty incredible what we've amassed here in Memphis this year. This is a photo that appeared in my local hometown newspaper. And I don't know if you can see the caption, but this is how the caption reads. It says, "Where did it come from, that penchant for music that pervaded the Warner family? Buzz had it." If you ever come to Crestmont, Willow Grove, right outside of Philadelphia, and somebody say, "You remember Uncle Buzz?" This is who they're talking about. And Leonard B. Smith, bandmaster at Abington High School and former member of John Philip Sousa's band, recognized it. In 1938, Buzz, James Curtis Warner, was recognized as the band's lead trumpeter and distinguished as a soloist that made us proud. He was the only black member of the band. He was its president and an outstanding player in the orchestra, too. Buzz was from Crestmont. You hear the pride I say that? You hear that? Buzz was from Crestmont and married one of the finest citizens, Marion Barry. They had a son, Curtis, who eschewed wind instruments for the drums. I don't know where they got that part from. So I just wanted you to see something about where I come from. You probably looked at that peanut-shaped head in the middle and said, that looks familiar. So our core values that we asked you to embrace last year, the core values for City Music: respect, excellence, access, diversity, innovation. Remember how it's spelled, R-E-A-D-I? We say we get kids, what? Ready. Right. And here we've bolded excellence and access. Well, City Music's always been about excellence. That's what I want to talk about a little bit today. And without access, there is no excellence. System 5 Scholarship, 1991, 2 years before I arrived at Berklee. Berklee had begun to give a scholarship to Boston youth, specifically Boston public school youth, because of the absence of music programs. And this scholarship was the scholarship that we now call the Berklee City Music Summer Scholarship, that some of your own students have come to in the summer. But at this time, it was a scholarship. City Music as we know it did not exist. It was the Summer Youth Scholarship for Talent and, what do you think? The E. Excellence in music. And then there's the 5 for the 5 weeks, right? So City Music has always been about excellence from the very beginning. I remember when there was a little statement attached to System 5, the scholarship, and it said that they wanted to put inner city kids from Boston on par with their more advantaged peers. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So now we're back to my dad. And the first thing you might have noticed about this picture, not that it's an orchestra, not that it's old, but there's a black person in the middle of the orchestra. It said that he was outstanding, which is not necessarily the same as standing out, because you don't have to hear him play to see that he stands out. But they said he was outstanding. There's another story that's attached to this picture. My father used to tell me that, you know, the neighborhood, they were all behind him, as you see, he's in the paper, so forth, but he was drafted into the the Army during World War II. And he thought that his music was going to keep him off the front line. But it didn't, because he was outstanding among his peers in his neighborhood at his high school, but he was not excellent. He wasn't excellent. And so the other kids, the 18-year-olders, the 19-year-olders that auditioned for the Army band, they had come from a place of advantage. Their preparation was different. And so just because someone is outstanding or that they stand out among their peers doesn't mean that they're excellent. And we have a job to make sure that our kids are not just outstanding, not just that they stand out among their peers, their small peer group, but they are excellent relative to the larger picture. I want to actually commend all of you for the excellence that is a part of your organizations, that's indicative by the work that you do. And I know the work is excellent because you're a part of this Berklee City Music Network and you've embraced our core values. But there's a list of organizations that are still hoping that they can up their game and be a part of our excellence. So I want to commend you for that. You've met the network criteria of excellence, and as I said, that's why you're here. Some of you have had young people, students, kids, in our 5-week summer performance program. They're excellent. We saw some of that last night. We saw it Monday night, didn't we? And the thing is that you've probably noticed that some of those same kids who were in our summer program only 3 months ago have raised the bar for themselves. You've noticed that. I was talking with someone last night about Antonio Robinson, young bass player from the Clef Club. And I remember we took Antonio as part of an all-star band in 2010. He was 14. And he was just kind of making the grade. And we're going, man, look at how he's playing. But then his teacher said, yeah, but some of this is just since 5 week in August, because excellence breeds excellence. And that's what the kids do for themselves. They raise their own bar. So some of the questions we ask is, how do we prepare our kids for excellence? How do we prepare them to make that band, to get into college, to be chosen for special privileges above the rest, to make sure that they are standouts, but standouts only among the best? Well, one way is by remaining true to your own values and high standards that you set. What might threaten the integrity of programming standards? I call it programming prostitution. How is that so? Program prostitution can threaten the integrity of your program. It can impose upon excellence. There was a colleague yesterday during one of the sessions, and she may be here today, I don't recall, but she raised the issue of funders who give you money to make you do what you don't want to do. And I remember Jeff Walker was saying, you know, if you're going after a funder, and let's say they want to, you know, increase the bananas in somewhere, that's not what he said, But the point is, the funder is not about the work that you want to do. It's to turn that funder on to someone else. And it was pointed out that that's not the same as receiving funds that are restricted. That's a difference, restricted funds. Because what's happened is you've defined what you want to do, you've defined what you're going to do, and somebody says, I'm going to give you funds to do just that. But you can't use my funds for anything else but that. But that's okay, because you've defined what you want to use their funds for before they gave it to you. Very different than them giving you funds to do something that you don't want to do. Can you leave those funds on the table? You know, usually that's something that you hear that could get someone fired. And you left money on the table. Who was here for the panel on the first day of our conference? Who was here? Let me see. Do you remember what Courtney said about songwriting? Courtney Harrell? She said the night before, she had been on the phone with a very high-profile artist who wanted her to collaborate on a song with that artist. And when he told her about the content of the song and the direction, she said, I can't do that. Remember she said, you remember that? And then what else did she say? She said, sometimes you have to let the money go. Bring people around you who want to do what you want to do, that embrace your mission and embrace your vision. Sometimes folks will give you $1 asking you to stretch that dollar. You ever had that happen? They give you $1, you know, because what you do is too expensive. What else might threaten your programming standards? Well, people who, instead of wanting to live vicariously through your students, want to make your students the object of their own alter ego. Many of us live vicariously through our students. Isn't that true? We can admit that. And so what do? We make sure that they have the best that we can provide. We make sure that they get excellent resources to the extent that we can provide them. We want to live vicariously through them, sometimes see them go beyond what we have done ourselves. That's not the same, though, as the motive that satisfies one's alter ego at the sake of the kids. Someone who's more concerned about their own personal legacy than they are about what the kids receive. We heard the superintendent talk about that rich experience. Be wary of those who give you $1 only if you'll stretch it. What do I mean by that? Well, I visited a school the other day, and I went to a music class, and they said, you know, we're able to give these kids music instruction for $150 per kid for an entire year. $150 per kid for an entire year. We receive funding to do that. The thing is that the funders' kids spent that in 3 weeks on private lessons. How about some of us here? How many of us received our music education for $150 a year? We don't have to accept that. Excellence. That's what we're talking about. Your programs have been founded on excellence. You exude excellence. What you saw Monday night at Minglewood Hall was excellence. The message: do not prostitute your programs. How have we been doing as a network? 2007, we had about 6 or 7 partners. 2009, if you were to count the dots, I think you'd find there were about 19 partners. And here, July 2013, we have 45 partners. I know it was mentioned yesterday, 43, but it's contagious. While you're on the plane getting here, ink is getting signed. We get 2 more partners. So these are just some random numbers I picked. And I wanted to let you know that there is a report. It's an at-a-glance report we call data report. And there's a lot of information on it. And you can request it, and we'll send it out to you. But these are just a few things I pulled from the report. In 2012, we had 38 sites. In 2013, we now have 45 sites. This is a big one. Look at this. 930 Pulse users in 2012, 6,186 Pulse users today. Yeah, in a year. But you might recall last year we spoke about this. I don't know if you remember. If you were here, we spoke about it and we said, you know what? We have to, you remember we said we have to become collective, right? We talked about we're reaching so many kids collectively, but we ourselves have to become collective. And when we think that way, this is the result. Now, this is an interesting number. 125 teachers reported they were using Pulse last year. Only 73 teachers using it this year, but yet the number of usage by the students went up. So there's a lot of things that we can make out of these numbers. One of the things could be that the teachers who were not zealous about this and did not value it as much as a resource, or maybe they couldn't incorporate it as much because of hardware situations or bandwidth or other things that are needed, but the creme de la creme emerged, and they're reaching a lot more kids with this resource. Last year, we were reaching 15,000 students, as I said, collectively as a network. This year, 22.7 thousand students we're reaching. Some of that has to do with growth, a few additional sites, but numbers like that don't happen just from a few additional sites. I could tell you, some of it has to do with the fact we've been talking about penetrating our own communities and making sure that we're reaching the kids that are right in front of us. That's one reason. Another reason is because we're more conscious of the need to reach more students, and we're doing that. And then a third reason is, this is something we spoke about last year that I need help with. We have more of you reporting this year. We have more of you reporting this year. See, these are volunteered numbers and information that we've collected. Last year, we had about 26 out of the 38 sites reporting. This year, we have about 33 out of the 45. However, some of that 45, the newer sites, they've actually missed the reporting cycle. I believe it happens in July. Last year, you identified 224 students who were what you felt were on the Berklee track, meaning they had potential to receive scholarship. They were doing that well. Look at the number this year. You guys are kicking behind. 510 students. Now, we still have a large way to go. We have to raise a lot more money. We have to raise money for the scholarships. You have to raise money to get the students to us and put them up. This year, $530,000 awarded to 106 students who came to our 5-week summer performance program. $2.4 million awarded to 17 college students this year. And this is just to Berklee, by the way. This is just to Berklee. I actually did a count of the students who went to other colleges, and we're sending our students collectively to 32 other colleges besides Berklee. Don't you think that's something to cheer about? Yeah? 37% of your students who auditioned for Berklee scored above average scores, which is 5 or higher, the top being 8. The top being 8. Now this is interesting. The graduation rate for City Music students is 62%. The graduation rate for Berklee College is 59%. The City Music students, your students, our students in Boston, the graduation rate is higher. Just a few closing thoughts to let you know that going forward, we're going to be introducing uniform assessment for our network in terms of students helping to determine proficiency levels. And in that case, we'll be collectively, in some cases, determining the bars ourselves. There'll be different levels of student certification. We're going to pump up the teacher training modules and do more in that area. We want to assure that students have the opportunity and the option to be competitive for other opportunities. We want our students to be competitive with those young people whose parents often fund us. We want to bring credibility through your association with the network so that when your students apply to school, that it'll actually mean something if they are City Music certified or if they are Pulse certified. We want it to mean something for your teachers, that if they are Pulse certified or another level that we're going to be introducing, City Music certified, that it means something to other teachers. But most importantly, we want to bring credibility to the network that will ascribe to your students. So please, do not prostitute your programs. Thank you very much.